we say this, we imagine that that hour is placed in some obscure and distant future. It certainly never occurs to us that it has any connection with this day. And that day has already began. And death might arrive that very same evening. I stand before you today as a father and a husband who grieve the loss of our son and brother Rex William Powell. And I'm able to stand and speak because you've all been with us, sharing in this sad event. We're humbled. When I say we, I mean all of us, not just the family, but everyone here. We're humbled, overwhelmed, and grateful for the support. And I can't offer sufficient thanks to all of you for all the prayers offered on our behalf, the time spent crying with us, and for us, and the boundless supply of practical resources and all that you provided. These gifts of love you made in memory of Rex, and most importantly, the presence with us, your presence with us. For all of this, Josie, Karen, I, and the entire extended family are thankful and grateful. Today, as I stand in front of my youngest son's marker, with Josie, Karen, Grandma, extended family, with our broken hearts, I submit that the loss of a son and brother and grandchild is something you just don't prepare for. Even during the past few weeks, under insurmountable odds, I refuse to prepare myself, right? If you don't prepare yourself, then maybe it won't happen. Doesn't work that way, does it? I wasn't ready, and I'm still not ready, but this morning I'm going to do my best. To those of you who knew Rex, you're already aware of the type of person he was, and these words you hear are already in your memory. To those who weren't as fortunate, the words today may give you a sense of the type of the man he was. Our son and brother has often been described as a very caring soul. He had a great sensitivity for the world around him. He had a way with people that made them feel comfortable and caused others to gravitate towards him. Rex exuded kindness. He pulled generosity and altruism out from everyone he touched. He was everyone's best friend. When we were down in Phoenix, they had a formal ceremony and then a more of an informal one in a park like this. And we, Josie and I and Karen and Cammie, we met so many friends of Rex's. They just seemed to come out of the woodwork down there, you know. And they were telling us little stories about him and almost made him come alive again. And that's the deal with things like this. The point of it is kind of to not cement the end part of anyone's life, but to get the whole picture in. And it's a lot more comforting, I trust you. I'm going to go over a very brief synopsis here. Rex was born in Fremont, Nebraska in 1972. Had a brother and a sister, Ignatius Patrick and Karen Marie. He had an immediate family of Julie Powell, his wife. Had a 14-year-old son, Andrew William. He had a 12-year-old daughter, Adrian. And Rex, I don't know if my mom's ever calculated all this, but Rex shared a middle name with his great-grandfather, Walter William Powell. His grandfather, my dad, Wallace William Powell. For some reason, they named me Neil William Powell. And Rex named his son Andrew William Powell. And more recently, my brother Gary's son, he named him Dean William Powell. And Dean did not forget this. He named his kid Hunter William Powell. Wow. By far the coolest Powell name I think I can think of. Rex was you got to understand or remember that water in Arizona is like liquid gold, literally. I mean, water, they don't have lawns like this in Arizona. They got rocks and cactuses and other things. And Rex decided that maybe that would be a good job for him. So he got into that water business, providing water. He started with digging the holes, digging the wells, keeping the cisterns full, this blah, blah, blah. and he worked his way up to a management position that he didn't particularly like. Because now, instead of dealing with holes in the ground and leaky pipes, he had to deal with the board. I know you know what I mean. Some of you know what I mean. You're dealing with the board who couldn't dig a hole and put a pipe in if their life depended on it, but they're always there telling you what you're doing wrong, right? You guys know that. So Rex, he really preferred the hands-on, the supplying the water to his customers. It was a bit of a small community, much like, I don't know, a small area, maybe 2,000-3,000 people. And his job was to make sure that they all had water, they were all billed for it, the pipes flowed. Pretty important thing. You don't think much about the water until you ain't got none. And it's all you can think about, isn't it? So he worked for the Ponderosa Park Water Company, and he was a manager of about five people, and it was an important job, and he did enjoy the water part, but his personality, Rex was an easy person to be around. He had an infectious smile that would always, you'd have to smile back at him. You just couldn't help yourself. It's hard to grimace at somebody that's really smiling at you. And I don't know many people that tried. Those of you that follow us on to Gary and Sandy's house, I do have a slideshow with quite a few photos of his life that you'll be able to enjoy later. He took pride in being a Mopar man. He was Mopar and no car. His in 2011, his pride and joy, he got a call from the local Dodge dealer who said they had a police car that had been ordered. They ordered a couple of them, and this police car, the city said they couldn't afford it, whatever. So he was asked if he wanted to buy it, and he goes, well, let me look at it. Well, it's like any police car that you get right off there's no console in the center. I mean, it was just stripped clean because it was meant to be a pursuit vehicle, Arizona pursuit vehicle. And it had all the cop functions. It had the real sticky tires, and of course the Hemi, and with all of the governors and stuff removed. And that was just his pride and joy. Even though when he brought it up here, you look inside and you see there was no console. There was just a couple of metal strips where apparently you'd put radios and stuff. He did have a thing where you could open up the trunk and two lights would flash in the back still, so that was pretty cool. But that was his pride and joy. And the last vehicles he bought were a pair of Mopar trucks, those SRT Viper engine, 10-cylinder Viper engine trucks. Oh my goodness. And he really enjoyed working on those, building them, and having fun with them. He really enjoyed camping and fishing with family and friends too. Some of you have seen on my Facebook page maybe pictures of his little daughter who she was only about 10 at the time, and she really wanted to go fishing, but a 10-year-old with a hook on the end of a long line, that could be asking for trouble. So he convinced her that putting on this little plastic toy they had would be just as good. And it was, because she caught as many fish as the guy next to her, so whatever. He enjoyed that. One of the great things that I'm going to bring this up, is that my mom here, Rex, when I went overseas, and when I came back, like happens to a lot of us GIs, the marriage just dissolved and was gone or whatever. And his mother at the time just kept moving him from family to family. Whoever would take him was good for her. He was only 4 years old, maybe 5. And my mom said to her, well, how about I take him to England, and he's got a mom and brother and sister there, and she agreed to it. And anyway, so my mom actually brought him from Spokane to London, and if I'm not mistaken, they asked you at Heathrow, what are you doing with this kid? Was it like one of those capture and kidnap missions or what? Because there were no orders. Some of you military guys know that. You got to be command sponsored, and you got this, that, and the other, and you got official orders. Well, she didn't have any of that. All she had was this little kid and a story. But she must have convinced him. Much like the time she got stopped for speeding and simply cried at the cop. It worked. I tried that. I'm not so lucky. Anyway, I will always be grateful to my mom for getting Rex over there, and we gave him a stable and we think a pretty good life. Grew up in England, went to junior school there, then he graduated in Ely Cathedral, which is an amazing, 15 million year old cathedral thing. And that's where those kids have their high school thing. So, like I said, he was born in Fremont, Nebraska, and spent his growing up years about 60 miles north of London. Well, I now invite you to join in memories of our son, brother, husband, father, grandchild. What do we got else? We got
nephew,
uncles, aunts, nieces, cousins. Did I leave anything out? Friends, neighbors. It's a neighbor around here somewhere.
friends.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the family first to share if they wish, and then we'll move on to friends. And we're going to try to share the most important things so we can let as many people share today as would like to.
Neil,
Yeah.
where do you start?
Do I have to? You're not going to spank me or chase me with a broom or anything.
That's what I came for, to see that.
Sorry?
I came to see that.
What? This
Chasing you
woman,
with a broom.
God, we had one of those bathtubs with the lion's feet on the bottom, and it was this far from the wall, and Ma couldn't make it back there. So she take her broom, and you're like, hey, we were having a good time. She was getting madder and madder for some reason. Anyway, this is my mama, Rex's grandmother.
I'm not that feeble. I just can't get up without falling over. No. One of my first memories of my grandson was my first grandson, or the first grandchild. And I went down to Fremont, Nebraska, to see what he looked like. And he was 3 years old, and he was very, very entertaining because he just really wandered around. He loved everybody. He would disappear out of the house, and nobody could find him. And Neil remembered that when he was a child, I had a whistle, and when I couldn't find anybody, like at the lake or the park, I would whistle 3 times, and they'd all show up. Well, Neil did one better. When Rex was missing, he'd get in his car, and he'd use a loudspeaker. And Rex would then listen, hear it, and come out of whatever house he decided to visit that day. He was a real friendly little boy. He was so friendly that he decided while I was there that I could have his bed, and I slept there. But I woke up and I smelled cheese. I thought, oh my gosh, where's that cheese smell come from? And I looked over, and there was the dog, who was a beautiful collie, but he smelled of cheese. You know, the kind that comes in a little container, and you can do that? Well, I could hear conversation in the kitchen with the dad and the son having some kind of a discussion, but I couldn't quite hear it. But the dog came walking in with this cheese, and I thought, well, it must be something to do with that, with Rachel and the cheese. I asked Neil, and he said, well, he kept asking Neil, Rex, why did you do that? And he'd say things like, he wanted it, she wanted it, she wanted it on her, she liked it.
She wanted to be covered in that, the cheese
Parmesan.
powder that you put on pizzas and
Parmesan
stuff.
cheese.
The collie wanted that.
Yeah.
So naturally, what's a kid gonna do, right?
So that was my story of getting to meet my first grandchild. I thought I should share that. He was a really special kid. Thank you.
All
And I
right.
did without crying. I think that's good.
She's switching chairs on us
Yeah. So I can see you now.
pretty quick.
What I do.
Karen?
Mom's chair.
Oh, you probably
Here.
want to say something, don't you?
Yeah. Looks like
I
it's
don't know what to say.
there you go.
It's scary. It looks much better.
I don't really know what to say.
I just figured.
I'm thankful that you guys all came out and everyone's here. We try to keep it together. Wow, not where any of us expect to be, right? Ever. But we're lucky that we have all of you to support us. If you got to meet Rex, I'm thankful that you did, because he was an amazing person. Sorry.
Do you have a favorite Rex Karen story you can think of?
I'm sure I do. I just can't.
I think they
of
all
it.
involve shots.
They do. The majority of them involve alcohol. A lot of it. I'd have to say one of my favorite memories was Rex loved casinos. Loved casinos. And Frank and I had never experienced casinos because we just weren't those people. We just didn't casino it up. So every time we would meet up with Rex, with after Nish passed away, it was every year. We had that pact. Every year we will see each other. Either we're going down there, you're coming up here, whatever. We decided to go to Laughlin one year, which you've never been to Laughlin. It's just a mini Vegas. It's for older, retired folk. So it's perfect for people who don't want to sleep because everyone else is gone by the time you're out having fun. We decided that we would see how much alcohol we could possibly consume, starting at about 1 in the afternoon till 5 the next morning. And I'm here to tell you it's a lot. But we both kept our stuff together. Nothing crazy happened. That's where a lot of my pictures, have you guys seen them? Were from there. Rex decided that we should take pictures everywhere because it was just us and we could. I remember that morning we decided to crawl our butts finally back to the hotel room. And just as we're trying to go to bed, the kids, Frank, Julie, everyone's ready to rock and roll. I think we ate a bunch of ibuprofen, tried to drink a bunch of water, and then just kind of started all over again. You know, it was just kind of our deal. It's kind of our thing we did together. Grandma told me a story yesterday. We took Grandma. Well, we met Grandma. We lost Grandma at the casino yesterday.
Yes.
She kind of walks pretty
Like
quick.
They all look the same or something?
No, she's just in a moving shaker. She's like, I'm going this. Yeah, we just lost her. It's okay. It's okay.
She's here now.
Yeah, we called
We
to
were
try to
worried.
check on Grandma, but Grandma didn't answer. So we hoped for the best. Grandma's here. It's good. Grandma and I and Cammie were sitting and talking, and Grandma saw one of the pictures that Dad had posted. And Grandma, I hope you're okay with sharing this. I'm trying not to cry. There's a picture in a bunch of those pictures where Rex and Grandma are talking to each other, and you just see in the picture that they're just looking at each other and talking. And Grandma says to me, "Do you know that picture?" I said, "Yeah, I saw that picture. That's the picture. I think it was at a birthday party or something." And she says, "Do you know what we were talking about?" And I said, "No." And she said, "For many, many years, I wanted to make sure, that I had done the right thing I'll get it together, 1 second. By bringing you to your dad and your other family." And he looked at Grandma and said, "You saved my life." So I know all of us are internally forever thankful for grandmas. Because who doesn't love their grandma? And for also bringing him to my dad, to my mom. And I'm sure there was an adjustment period because you go from being an only child and now you got a sibling and a brother that you're not even sure who this is. And then along comes a sister and you're like, whoa, my life has completely changed. But I couldn't imagine being my grandma and wondering if I had made that right choice. Did I change his life? Did I do a good job? Absolutely. And I think we're all thankful for that. So thank you, Grandma, for bringing me my brother. You know, Dad, his son. Mom raised all of us the same. So Mom's son. And I think we're all thankful for that. And I know Rex was. Absolutely. And that he verbalized it. So what a moment to be able to treasure before any of this happened, that you got a chance to do that. So before I get too awkward, because it's about to happen, I'm gonna go that way. So thank you again, and thanks for watching me cry. Oh, Reiki. Oh. I tried not to be too awkward.
Oh. Yeah, this is a cool thing. Oh. There's no particular order. Josie, I'll give you a shot if you'd like. That's fine.
Can't say.
I was just kind of going down to aunts and uncles. Anybody want to go next? The cousins? Don't care.
I only have one thing to say, Neil, and that is I feel unfortunate for not being able to meet him. I think I saw him twice, and so that we missed out on knowing who he was. But I appreciate all the pictures and stuff that you guys tells a good story. He was a Powell.
Had the ears and everything.
And before Eddie Gay starts, if I could add that on, I was 100% sure, sorry Uncle Gary, that Rex was Uncle Gary's son. Always. Because he is just like Uncle Gary. Everything. I had to throw that out there because you said he was a pal, and I'm like,
They're all alike.
yeah. I just seriously thought he was Uncle Gary's kid because that's what he was like to me. That's what he made me think of.
There's worse things.
Okay, there.
I was very, very lucky because I got to have Rex for 6 weeks between the transition of his mother going to Europe and my mom taking him to England. And you know, the little things that you remember, and try not to judge what lifestyle they lived before you got them. He brought a suitcase in, and it had he was 6, and he either had size 3 or size 8 clothes in him. I was like, okay. You know, a mom who has a little girl and always dresses her just perfect, okay, not acceptable. And then it was like, there's no underwear in this package. And there was no pajamas. And I remember saying to Rex, honey, what do you wear to bed? And what he said was, anything you want, Annie Gale. It's like, okay. But it was really, I am glad that I got him for that 6 weeks. Heather is 10 months younger than Rex, but she was a grade above him at that time. And so she took it on as her responsibility to teach him ABCs, reading, whatever. And she could not understand, this is how you read. Got it? This is how you do your numbers. Got it? And when it took him a little time, normal time, to get all that information, she was just like, oh. And one of my mom's favorite stories is Rex calling and saying, Grandma, come get me. Why? Well, she makes me play school. Okay. Yeah, but she makes me be the girl. So, you know, we had a lot of good memories. I got to babysit Andrew first because they met us down in Las Vegas and they were going to go to a show, and I got to take him in my room. And I always thought that that was a pretty cool thing to do. I mean, I would rather be in the room babysitting than be with my mom and losing money. So, yeah.
But did you lose her? Because we lost her.
One night they came and cleaned everybody out. I don't know, something happened. I lost her. But, you know, it's just always nice that you get to see a little bit of someone's life, and I hope I've done that for my other nieces, because we don't get enough time of anything you want, Annie Gale. You know, it doesn't always happen that way. So those are some of my stories with the little boy.
What about you?
I only got one thing to say, is if you knew Rex, if you know my brother, you're all welcome to come to our house after this. You're all welcome. Please come.
What if you're just hungry?
That too.
No, that's good
We're
too.
good.
We got lots of good food. And
Yeah, these guys, Sandy, his wife, I mean, she's a amazing, caring person, and she wanted to do something for us, and I said, I can't really think of anything. She goes, oh, I know, I could make a ton of food and you could all come to my house. I'm thinking, okay. So I think you have some sandwiches and some drinks, and they live about,
There's
what,
a
6-7
bug.
miles from here. It ain't a major trip.
It's like, what, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
20 minutes? Yeah.
When we
It's not
leave,
far.
those of you that would like to go for food and fellowship,
And
we'll just be
dessert.
taking a left there at the bottom of the hill, and then you can follow us, or I think some of you may have got maps off Facebook. I gave everyone. So anyway, that'll cover that. I know. I'll do another quick one here with my brother, since he forgot it because he's old. Rex showed up here in that cop car, that gray. I mean, because it was a cop car, no trim, no nothing. It was just a gray monster of a car, Interceptor. And he said, Garrett, I think, was it your idea or his?
Oh no, it was his.
All right, he wanted one of those Dodge stripes on the back end, that go around the trunk like that. And of course, Rex didn't really understand what he understood. We're talking about sanding where it's going to go all the way down, removing all the clear coat. Unky knows what's involved. And you got to, anyway, it was an all-day project and close to $500 for just a little stripe because it was done right. It was,
Well, that was the materials.
yeah, but he works for free.
Everybody remember that.
I got a 72 Plymouth Roadrunner with at least 200 hours worth of labor on it. He sends me a bill every Christmas, and I store it. I'm not forgetting about it. God, that thing's about this big now.
I know it.
Anyway, Rex and him worked on that. I got a lot of pictures of that too. Rex didn't just say, "Okay, here's the car, go for it." No, you got to agree. Gary told him sand this and put the tape on that, and anyway, so he was able. He drove that car up from Arizona. He got the stripe painted on it. It was the only one of one. It looked factory, but there were no other police interceptors with a Dodge racing stripe on the back end. And he drove it back to Arizona, and everybody asked him, whoa, and they go, well, yeah, just drive to Spokane, and you'll get a good deal.
There's leftover
Anyway,
paint.
We
Yeah.
actually drove by that store today on our way here, and Frank goes, "That's where Rex got his paint." So, yeah.
Oddly enough, you were his favorite uncle. I mean, he would have liked Pope, except he never met him. So
Well, I
there's
wish
that.
I would have had the opportunity to spend more time with him.
Remember when we all went fishing at your fishing pond up there? I got some pictures of that too. He dug this huge, well, I don't know, was that hole already there?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, it was there.
he had a big pond, and he stocked it with fish, and he had some kind of rule about had to use barbless hooks. God, go figure, right? Anyway, the little grandkid, he's quite the host, you guys. I hope that you can join us afterwards. His wife makes good food. Is anyone else? Anyone?
I wanted to add that Rex's car, because it was a cop car, had no handles to get out of the back. So when you get your sister completely drunk and then tell her to sit in the back seat, you sit there and you can't get out. You cannot get. There's no handles. There's nothing. So you're just stuck there until he
never
decides
picked up
that he's gonna get you out. No.
He got treated better than Josie did with the handcuffs over the hood thing. That's some unknown. Oh, sorry. That's a story for another time. I just say your mom got off a little tougher than you did.
I think the neighborhood thought that was more exciting than anything.
Yeah.
And Jack is still around. His name is Charger Jack, and he's still around. And Julie's driving him, and we got to see Charger Jack when we were in Arizona. So
I'd like
Still
to
running.
slip in one more quick story. Good Lord, what's that? Okay. Like any kid growing up, and luckily for my mom, I wasn't like this, but Rex, this is the 80s, and he was a skateboarding guy. So, one of my best friends in England just happened to be the police sergeant in charge of all the bobbies for our little village in England. You have a police officer assigned to every little town, and they actually have a police house, kind of like a preacher gets a house included in a job. Anyway, his house was across the street from ours, and we were really close. We went on all kinds of missions together, and this, that, and the other. Anyway, I got a call from him. His name was Brian. Brian says, "Hey, Pigman, we got to talk." And I go, "Yeah, sure, man. You want to get drunk? You want to smoke weed? What do you want to do?" No, I can't made that last part up, but he goes, "No, you need to come to the police station and talk to me." I go, "Uh-oh, that's never good. Never go to a police station willingly."
When you're asked.
Yeah, so I went down. It turns out that on his way to school, Rex had skateboarded down. You know, we're in an English village, you know, where everybody knows everybody. And he skated by this house and then stopped and went back, walked up the driveway there, grabbed a bottle of milk. In those days, the milkman would deliver milk to everybody. He just casually picks it up, flips the thing, drinks it down, puts it back down. Well, that lady called the police officers. And Brian says, "Well, how do you want to handle this?" I go, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, we can just blow it off and you go tell him not to do it again and we'll be good to go." I think Rex was about 11 or 12 at the time. And I said, "Brian, no, here's how we're going to handle it. I want you to take a marked police car and go get him at school. Then I want you to bring him down to the NIC. I want you to throw him in the can there and slam the door as hard as you can." I saw that on TV. I think that works. So Brian did that. But I heard later from Rex, you know, he's used to Brian being, you know, real friendly and maybe after a few drinks, this, that, and the other. He had his cop face on, and it scared Rex half to death. Right? And then, you know, he takes him, puts him in he thought he was going to get a tour of the jail. He was going to spend the night there is what he told him. He said, "I'll see you in the morning." Bam! Right? And no, he didn't spend the night there. So he came back. Anyway, he never stole another bottle of milk. And yeah, it was kind of an interesting deal. And Rex brings that up to him. He says, "Dad, you really set me on the right path with that. I knew I didn't want to be in jail and hear that door slam." I said, "Well, that kind of was the point of it, wasn't it?" Does anyone else would like to say anything? Anyone going once, twice? You guys, you're done. Hope, TJ and I we went to high school together along with Shannon there, and we followed each other's lives up and down for going on 50 years now. We just celebrated our 50th high school reunion. Amazing. How does that time go by that fast? It's just amazing. One more shot. Does anyone else have anything they would like to say?
Does anybody know what that little vase is there?
Sorry?
Rex.
This is Rex's remains, some of them. He was cremated in Prescott, Arizona, and we divided up the remains. So he will be, interesting enough, his remains will be both in Arizona, where his family is, and here next to his brother. And for the record, Josie and I will be here someday too, right at this exact spot. And Josie is always saying, "Somebody walked in my grave." And I used to always tell her, "You ain't got one." Now I can't do that. I think I'll leave this with what I kind of started with, in that kind of the point of this isn't to concentrate on the end and the sadness and the missing man formation. It was to remember the big picture. Rex was almost 50. Hard to believe.
47.
Yeah, 47.
Don't make him 50 yet.
So I wrote this amazing conclusion. With tears and laughter, we dip into the deep well of love and memories. May these memories and unspoken nourish you and keep Rex with you. So as long as we remember Rex, as long as we live, Rex too shall live, for he is a part of all who knew him or knew men and women who did. And with that,
Let's eat.
it's, let's eat. With that, put down the tears and
And
that's
move on.
it. So again, we're going over to 7 Mile Peak Creek. You're all invited.